Now players, you must be asking yourselves, does Comic Concept really spend his time watching soap operas? Aside from, of course, the time he spends gallivanting about his domain like a 94 Ventura, reading the finest of all literatures, dining on some of the most exquisite cuisines in all of creation. Well players, the answer to that question is a resounding fuck no. Of course, I'm not watching soap operas all day. I would wipe my ass with all 46 seasons of Grey's Anatomy if I could. Let's just put it that way. But the more I think about it, Invincible is pretty much a soap opera. A soap opera being a serialized drama, so a drama arranged in a series format, dramatic television essentially, except the thing that separates a TV drama series and soap operas are, at least I would say, is the melodrama. The exaggerated nature of the world, the characters, the actions, and even some of the motivations. Again, the only experience I have with soap operas are memories of my grandma making me and my cousins food while simultaneously being hypnotized by her novellas, which even back then I would have wiped my ass with. Never really cared for them. So I say that to say I don't have experience watching soap operas, but I have experience seeing someone react to watching soap operas, and I can tell you firsthand, players, this shit is hella soapy. But that's a good thing because during the time that season 2 part 2 started, I had gotten up to issue maybe like 47, 48, and during the elapsing of the last 4 episodes of season 2, I have officially finished all of the Invincible comics, all 144. Not the Adam Eve one or the Rexplode one or even the Adam Eve special. It always plays after the new episodes, right? But I'm never really paying attention. It's probably great though. But as I continued to read the issues, there were so many interesting dynamics and character motivations that were certainly over the top, but actually made sense or weren't stupid, and each issue ended on a cliffhanger that was so crazy it just compelled you to read the next issue. It would be taxing to put the book down. Like, I lost sleep staying up to read this series. That's how invested I got into the plot, the characters, and overall the world. If anything, my only complaint was that I would have loved to explore the side characters more, but basically that's how the show has been so far for me. And now with the finale commencing, I can confirm that when you ask your grandmother what the best soap opera is, when you enter into Google, I need the absolute best of the best animated comic book show, when you prompt OpenAI to generate you an image of peak good ass shit, trust me, there is no other thing that could be displayed before you than So since I'd been busy covering another peak animation, I let the last 3 episodes of the season go by. Episode 6, we open with Rex getting shot but surviving, as well as shrinking Ray and whooping King Lizard's ass. The space team still getting overwhelmed by the Sequids, but the tension ever building until they are able to neutralize them enough to get away. And just the way that it was handled was very good. Like, even though Ray and Rex survived, you still felt the severity of their sacrifice and how it took all of this for Rex to see the error of his ways. So all of this had like a purpose. As well, the Immortal dealing with Kate's death and it being different to him, even though he's been in love before many times, this one in particular is hitting him different, and I think they could be touching on a big theme in the series, at least in my opinion, which is how time changes you and then how love changes you. I won't go into spoilers, but love is powerful. Not that I would know anything about that. Speaking of love, Amber and Mark go out for the first time in a minute, and it's pretty awkward. You know, that time that has gone by since they last seen or spent time with each other is showing, and the toll of dating a superhero becomes ever more apparent throughout the episode, especially as Mark speaks with Art Rosenbaum and as Amber speaks with Adam Eve. I actually barely noticed this, but there's broken hearts in the coffees. We see Rick struggling with his existence after all the trauma D.A. Sinclair put him through, after picking him apart and then the government putting him back together, and just questioning what's left of his humanity. So many deep, complicated emotions and feelings just get drawn out and given time to be seen and breathed. The episode ends with Alan meeting back up with Mark on Earth and finding out that Nolan told Mark to read his books because they were filled with actual things that could help them kill Viltrumites. The cliffhanger for this episode would be the Sequids making it to Earth, a tease I'm sure to issue 70, and Angstrom Levi's return. Like crack, I figuratively need more of it. We get a super meta opening for episode 7 where at Comic-Con the writer of Seance Dog basically explains how animation actually works. Rex gets his feet wet in his first mission back after his his accident, and we get a little tease of what's to come or what's not to come. And then Rex offers to cover for Mark so he can actually have a night off to spend with Amber. We get a nice little back and forth with Bulletproof and Black Samson, where Bulletproof roasts everybody on the team and hits Samson with the bald allegations. Samson explains how even though the Guardians of the Globe are fucked up in their own unique ways, they're a family, so they are locked in when it counts, and you know, that's what matters. I kind of like fucked up Guardians who are like family. We get to see Amber and Mark going on a date finally, and it's pretty romantic. They're flying around everywhere, plus an absolute banger is playing while they're doing so. Of course, that doesn't last because this is when Anissa comes through, and instead of doing this to Debbie, she threatens Amber, and Mark agrees to speak with her, and she drops bars of like, you know, if you just let the Viltrumites take over, we can actually help the people of Earth like you're not doing. But of course, Mark refuses and says, we may not be perfect, but we need to be allowed to be that way, you know, and I guess it's kind of important. You have to make your own mistake. And this sets off an illustrious ass whipping of Mark Grayson by Anissa. I believe she was given a little bit of foreshadowing for Conquest, the next big Viltrumite in the series before leaving Earth, which could potentially be coming in season 3 if the Invincible War storyline doesn't take too much time. And he's an absolute motherfucker, okay? All this leads to the very predictable end of Mark and Amber's relationship. You know, it was bound to happen, what with how much time Mark wasn't able to spend with her, and more than likely not wanting to subject her to what his mother went through with his father. All that culminating to the cliffhanger of Angstrom Levi calling Mark from Debbie's phone. Add 20 plus crack points to the show. Plus a mid-credit scene of Alan getting captured by Anissa to find Nolan in their prisons. Episode 8 and the finale of season 2, we open up with Nolan being qualified to get executed by the Viltrumites, and then immediately at House Grayson, where Angstrom has Debbie and Lil Oliver hostage, and the tension built up here is just insanely palpable. Like, that's how good of a job they're doing with this, where I have an idea, right, of where they're going because of the comics, but I was still like, please don't touch her, don't pick up Oliver like that. Especially the way that they're still able to tweak the how of what happens is so good, and it's so good at making this translation valuable in its own right apart from the comics. We get our variant Spider-Man cameo, or Agent Spider cameo, which players, I was so dead on confident that they somehow secure the rights to use Spider-Man for this episode. Like, why tease it so much just for a variant? Like, I get what they were trying to do, and admittedly it wasn't a big part of the story in the comics, you know, pardon the team up, but it was definitely a highlight. So I just would have preferred getting something more like the Batman cameo if they were gonna do it, just like the one in the Invincible comic where it just shows the hand and the foot. But overall, even though I didn't particularly like this, it doesn't detract from my enjoyment of the show and whoever this Agent Spider character is. And we get to see, while Angstrom sends Mark all across the multiverse, his humanity peak back up again, and his motivation, and seeing the different memories from his variants of Invincible destroying their worlds and also destroying the lives of those closest to him. And then when he snaps to, he starts trying to grill Debbie because she raised the monster, but she has bars back for him about how this is the one universe Mark's not a monster and he actually is. And the tension built from there with Levi snapping her arm and then Oliver crying. You know, somebody get that kid a Star Puff. This culminates with Mark and Levi having a battle across the multiverse, with Mark actually killing him, which was pretty wild to see animated and like acted out. It's a pretty significant point in the comics because this is when the no-kill rule starts to get put into question and get challenged. It starts to be more explored later in the series, specifically when Oliver gets his powers and Mark has to teach him how to not be like his dad. But basically the future Guardians of the Globe come through and they rescue Mark, and future Eve tells him, you know, go for present time Eve, tell her how you feel. And there's actually so much more depth here that you just wouldn't understand or realize unless you read the comics, and for whatever reason I don't feel like spoiling that for y'all in this video, so I'll chill on that for now. But when Mark comes back, he makes sure his mom's okay, and Cecil confronts him about his decision to kill Levi, even though this continues to eat away at him for like the remainder of the episode, especially during that flying sequence, which I know the animation has been iffy this season. This right here was like super dope. I thought Mark was about to go through time. He gets some comfort from Eve as he no longer wants Amber to suffer, but doesn't have it quite in him yet to tell her how he feels. Don't we all? Nolan's humanity starts showing as he contemplates his actions on Earth and feels remorse, but the episode ends on one of the craziest panels from the comics being, I Think I Miss My Wife from issue 45. Just an absolutely diabolical way to end a season. I believe Robert Kirkman has said that the wait for future seasons will only get shorter from now on, which is dope, but hopefully the animation doesn't suffer, which is probably the only fault I can sense in the season as a whole. Not that it was bad, but sometimes it just felt kind of uneven. Other than that, it was extremely entertaining and enthralling. I was invested from scene to scene, episode to episode, all season. That's why Invincible Invincible will retain its fluctuating 8.5 to 9 out of 10 status for me. You have to go watch this stuff, guys. I wish Amazon was paying me to say this, but I'll shill an amazing show any day. The action, the music, the dialogue, the emotions are just next level. Read the comics also, they're fucking insane. All in all, I love this season and I can't wait for season 3. Let me know your thoughts, players, but that's it. If you liked the video, leave me a thumbs up, comment down below, and if you want to subscribe, I always appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope all you guys are well, and I will see you in the next one.